Prey with some Amalia Combo, the one lander that doesn't have any of our combo pieces. Really don't quite cut it. We're already on 6. This is basically double mulligan. We'll try it. This hand is not particularly good. Good old Mana Red. Could be Rakdos still too. Rakdos it is. Wah, wah, wah. Not exactly a matchup you want to be mulliganing to 5 on. Looks like they are mid-range. Got access to Smuggler's Copter most notably because it's not was never printed into Arena. No reason to block. They could have once again have another Bone Crusher Giant, so notably likely keeping out Fatal Push here. Nope. Okay, well, I mean, you gotta know when to pick your spots, I guess, so. Second chord for 1. Doesn't really do a whole lot for us. Our window to do something that is notably closing. Stumbling on lands. We do have the Collected Company that could get a little bit lucky, but opponent's already pitched 4 lands, so they're basically on almost all business, and if they untap with this, then we're just never going to have a board, so. Question is, what am I getting here? Choosing to go after the Scout, which literally doesn't matter. Last card in the hand was nothing. I get a redraw. Problem is we need 3 combo pieces in play, so... Or 3 pieces for the combo to work, really. Life gain creature, Wildgrowth Walker, and... Amalia. So... 4, 8... So 3, 7, 4, 7, 11. I think we just don't block here. Oh no, I was just dead because I missed one of the attackers. Derpa derpa. Okay. So... It's a little risky if they go the Croxa route, but I think Aetherflux Reservoir just is a little too cute. So played a little bit with this deck so far. Played 1 or 2 matches on MTGO that we've already shown on the channel. Played a little bit of best of 1, so still kind of learning the deck, but helps if I don't miss that I have to block or I'm dead. So that said, they still could have had another Bone Crusher Giant perhaps and punished us there, but we at least would have gotten one more draw to see if we could hit a land or an Amalia. Yeah, hand is not great, but at least it has a little bit of resiliency. So actually a little bit worse because we can't cast the Dina. Okay, now we can. Paying for this Coco here. Leave that one on top because outside of Extinction Event, it specifically means that our opponent has no prayer of winning this game. another sweeper. Okay. Alright. Opponent sees the writing is on the wall, so. Oop, nope, nope, nope. Gargaroth. I'm not even sure what matchup you want Gargaroth in, honestly. Just kind of took a list that was portable to Arena rather than all the lists that weren't portable, mainly because of Eidolon of Rhetoric. So it's possible Gargaroth is just a value creature, but you would think you would want something more in line with the deck. Like I saw Canister messing with Archangel of Thune, which kind of fits with the life gain aspect of the deck. I guess you want like something in case you get your Amalias extracted or Wildgrowth extracted or something, but that effect just seems like it wouldn't really be in the format right now, especially with the absence of any type of extraction effects like the Stone Brain with Karn being gone, etc. So, not saying that there aren't some extraction effects still running around the format. You know, people seem to love their Altered Ego or Necromentia. Can't remember what the blue-black one is named off the top of my head. But I want to say Altered Ego, but I think Altered Ego is one of the clone effects. So. Mana. Okay, definitely keeping this one. I think we chuck back the Goose. Turn 1, Thumb Seize. Yep. Turn 1, Duress. Duress is a little cute, I think. Yeah, I don't like bringing in Duress in this matchup. Like, I think our opponent sideboarded poorly there. Like, I understand you just died to return to the ranks, but this deck only packs like 6 or 7 instants or sorceries. Barring bringing in something like Fatal Push. Like, you have Collected Company and you have Return to the Ranks, both of which, don't get me wrong, are powerful spells. But much like against like Angels, where they have Kalya's Intervention and Collected Company, I just don't think it's worth it to bring in something like Duress. Alright, match 2. This hand's reasonable. Got the terrible beatdown plan going here, and okay, we're up against a deck that I actually want to see more of, and that is this Simic Merfolk deck. Seems like a deck that is kind of built to emerge fairly reasonably in the current format, but actually, let's just go ahead and pop the food token. I feel like the opponent's getting a little cute here with Shaw's Tidebinder, perhaps. Blocks. No reason taking a game actions. My board currently stalls your board, and you need to hold up alt mana. I don't. Sure. Hong Kong. Sure. Hong Kong. So you have to have Tashanas here. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was so dumb. Why did you convoke, stupid thing? You just sent the game in an infinite loop. Good job. I wish there was a way to break the infinite loop. Alright. Yeah, you can't set yourself into that loop where you just die, basically, because you have to continually mill yourself out. Play those, play those. You want one donate on effects, go down extraction specialist, go down earth. Yeah, I don't know. Reservoir might just be alright. Mulligan. This hand is also quite likely a mulligan. Game 1 should have been a win, but there was definitely some punting and sequencing errors there. The heck do they have? You mean Merfolk Trickster? Oh, Darren Hexcatcher, sure. Mm-hmm. 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 I think we lose here. Yeah, I threw away game one. It's going to cost us. Alright. They might have Tidebinder, they might not. Doesn't really matter. I threw away this game. Alright, hand is decent. We have Amalia, we have a Chord. We're just missing either a life gain piece or some amount of other aspects. Either a life gain piece or Wildgrowth Walker off the top. Mono green? Could be elves, could be mono green. Unless they're Golgari or Gruul, there probably won't be much in the way of interaction from them. Okay. Looks like a mirror match, possibly? With Llanowar Elves? Mm-hmm. Good game. I would say well played, but I don't like to lie, so. out of their graveyard. Okay. So, need to bring back Wildgrowth Walker. Also need to make sure Dina's in play, basically. Alright. So, against the Mire match. Interested in the bats, interested in the pushes. Leyline, I'm not sure. Problem with the Reservoir is it's just so unreliable. All right. That's alright. Obviously we're missing a combo piece, but still reasonable enough. Honk honk. Mm-hmm. Honk honk. Chord for the combo if we absolutely have to. Pretty good backup card to have. Alright, opponent realizes that they are dead, so good games, well played. Alright, so we're back with a quick wrap after some gameplay with Amalia Combo. A little bit more in depth than the quick hits video. I mean, played against the Mire match, played against Merfolk, we played against Rakdos. The thing with these creature combo style decks is they don't always play the best fair game. Now, most of my experience with and against these style decks is in Modern. With, over the years, you had the Kitchen Finks, Viscera Seer Mire combo, also Murderous Redcap in that. You had the Helia Ballista Spike Feeder combo, and in more recent terms, you've had the Yawgmoth, Undying Creatures, Blood Artist, or Zulaport Cutthroat combo. This deck is very much of that ilk. It is a toolbox creature deck. I mean, your beats are pretty mediocre. You have some generic 1/1s, some 1/1s and 2/2s. You put pressure on your opponent until they have to act. Then you slam a combo that threatens to win the game. Now, obviously, Amalia becoming a 20 power creature generally wins the game. I punted away a game against Merfolk that I shouldn't have because you have no way to stop the infinite loop once Amalia triggers, once Amalia is beyond 20 power. So, and then basically you lose the game. Even though you're at infinite life, you technically wouldn't, if game states were allowed, you wouldn't have to mill your entire deck. But basically what happens is they basically declared at the RC that you would have to mill your deck out. So you really need Dina in play whenever you go that particular route. And then obviously, some of these decks have flex slots. Aetherflux Reservoir is certainly one way. This allows you that if you're in the infinite loop and you happen to have Aetherflux Reservoir, you can go ahead and dome them out. The problem I have with a card like Aetherflux Reservoir is you have no way to search for it, so you just have to naturally draw this. And so, not sure how I feel about this inclusion in the main deck. I know I've seen it some in the sideboard, like some of the sideboards that run it, so including it in the main, getting a feel for it, but we never drew it in these matchups. The rest of the deck, is either returning things from the graveyard, finding it with Chord of Calling, finding it with Collected Company. Maybe a card like Eldritch Evolution or Neoform is better, but I still think Collected Company is decent in value. Your main deck is pretty tight. Your sideboard, obviously, Knight of Autumn, and I added a Haywire Might in the 15th slot just to have some outs to things like Temporary Lockdown, those kind of things, just different ways to deal with heat permanents like that, Leyline Binding. Leyline the Void, important against decks like Greasefang, Fatal Push for things like the Mirror, or, other creature-based low-to-the-ground decks that might get under you a little bit. Gargaroth, not sure how I feel about this one. Like, it's a decent beat stick. It has some nice utility, but I do wonder if there isn't some better value creature. Deep Cavern Bat, anti-combo stuff, anti-control stuff. Take your opponent's sweeper, resolve your combo. Take your opponent's random, combo card if Lotus Field were actually a part of this format in a meaningful way. Eventually, you're going to have to get some Damping Spheres or something in here to go along with the Archon of Amalia, just because that matchup feels like it could be a little bit dicey, although I think we are a little bit faster of a combo deck. Voice of Resurgence, nice value creature in a lot of grindy matchups. Also punishes counter spells, holding up mana during your opponent's turn, whether that be decks like Merfolk, decks like Blue-White X Control, etc. From what I saw of Frank Karsten's numbers about the RC here in the US, Blue-White Control was the only deck that consistently of the top decks beat this, along with Enigmatic Fires. Fires is a bit puzzling. The only thing I can figure out with Fires is Chain of the Rocks, Leyline Binding, plus a fairly reasonable game plan themselves kind of go over the top a little bit. They might have Elish Norn could also make things a complete nightmare because you really have no way of dealing with that. So I'd have to look and see what the fires lists are running lately, or that ran at the RC that would make this matchup a little bit tricky. I'm a little surprised that the deck had positive outlooks against both Rakdos and Phoenix, which I think speaks well to a deck. I think it's kind of funny because this is yet another deck that I think ironically preys on other creature decks, like, you know, humans and to a lesser extent spirits and stuff, just because your deck is so mana cheap and efficient. It can be difficult for those decks to manage what you're doing, especially since they don't have a ton of interaction, and you get to play this weird kind of like Collected Company, Chord of Calling, EOT, you hold up mana, they hold up mana, and then meanwhile you're beating down with your dorks. So, but I do think this deck is in a good place, whether it remains unbanned or not, because this is, okay, so theoretically, go turn 1, say Gilded Goose, turn 2, Prosperous Innkeeper, turn 3, you can have access to 4 mana, go Wildgrowth Walker, Amalia, and then kill on turn 4. If you would go Gilded Goose on 1, Dina on 2, or Wildgrowth Walker, and then you can potentially kill on turn 3, although it isn't very likely. This is very much a turn 4 deck. And there are some decks that can just kind of ignore the infinite life, not quite infinite life, but wrathing their board, having a 20 power creature left behind. I know I've played some matchups at least in best of 1, with Quintorius Combo, and they like wrath my board, but I still had like 5 planeswalkers left, and then just basically outpowered them with making a bunch of blockers every turn, and I Leyline binding their Amalia, and it was just kind of like, don't know if that's how that matchup normally goes, but I kind of beat my Quintorius deck to interact with instant speed combo decks, so maybe it was just a sign of, you know, how I built the Quintorius deck. But this deck is pretty sweet. Definitely doing a little bit more work on it as we get ready to do the deck guide for it. It's been a minute since we've done more in-depth deck guides, and Amalia is certainly the deck at the top of the list. Also other decks that I need to work on. Gruul Bard class we haven't done yet. Dark Phoenix we haven't done yet. Quintorius Combo deck guide we haven't really done yet, although that one's a little less in-depth because there isn't as many options with that deck. There's a few others that I need to do, and then once we kind of get all of the deck guides done for decks that you might see on a fairly reasonable basis, I think I'm going to go back and revise like the Rakdos, you know, start from the top decks down, like Rakdos, Is It Phoenix, kind of revisit those decks to see if they've had many changes to them. Kind of get a little bit better information now that more and more of the Pioneer format is getting onto Arena. I prefer to play Pioneer on Arena or Explore on Arena, honestly, because I get a lot more games in. I can, you know, do some games while I'm, you know, doing other things, not necessarily having to be sitting down recording on the computer to get some testing in. So, so one nice thing about Arena is you get a lot more games. You don't have to be on a computer like you do with MTGA. But anywho, hopefully you like Pioneer content. If you do, consider subscribing to the channel. Hope to see you for our next video.